Donald Trump's speeches continue to get more unhinged and deranged every single day. Yesterday, we saw him having some fun, if we can put it that way, with his mic stand. And the day before, he was talking about threatening Liz Cheney's life. Donald Trump is completely out of control. So much so, in a speech he just gave, that Fox cut him off. They took him off the air because of some weird comments that he was making about young women in the crowd. Yeah, it was just really strange, and we are going to get into it all. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really means the world to me. Now let's get into this really uncomfortable and strange Trump speech.
If God came down and agreed to be our vote taker for one day, just one day, God would only need 1 second, actually. If he came down and he was going to be our vote taker, meaning if we had an honest election in California, we would win California. But
this continues to be Donald Trump's favorite talking point about elections generally. He doesn't want to tell people to get out and vote. He is not encouraging them to vote early. No, he's just saying that if God counted the votes, that he'd win California. I don't know. I guess he is just doing everything he possibly can to sow doubt about the results of the upcoming election, which lets us know Donald Trump thinks he's losing. There's a reason why he is attacking the election already in Pennsylvania so much, because he is terrified and he wants to make people scared, just like him trying to make people scared with some transphobia right here.
Last year, the radical left's gender insanity arrived right here in Salem when a man was allowed to transfer onto the Roanoke College women's swim team. And I just met them backstage, the great swimmers. I didn't notice a male on that particular team. I didn't notice a male on that team. Perhaps I don't understand what's happening, but I didn't see any males on that team, believe me. But the brave members of the swim team stood up to the transgender fanatics, something new in our country. And those strong, and I would say beautiful, but I'm not allowed to use that term anymore with women, because if you say beautiful, it means the end of your career in politics. You're not allowed to say a woman's beautiful, so I will not tell you how beautiful they are, but they are beautiful.
Transphobia and fear-mongering have been so central to Donald Trump's campaign, and although it isn't surprising, it's just so gross to see him continue to go after marginalized communities all of the time. And it really just shows how detached he is from reality, which we can see even more with his cognitive decline every single day. And that really shows when he's talking about TiVo for some reason during his speech. Let's just take a look right here.
Nobody can believe the numbers. Nobody ever was shocked. I was shocked. I heard it and I said, oh, let me, TiVo, one of the greatest inventions in history, right? TiVo or its equivalent. Now they're going to use me in a damn ad. I got to be careful. You cannot use that for ad purpose. No, TiVo or its equivalent. You just...
How is this Donald Trump's closing argument? He's just talking about old things. We saw him earlier today bringing up Hannibal Lecter again. Now he's talking about TiVo. I don't understand Donald Trump's fascination, but he is always stuck in the past for some reason. He is so caught up in his grievance of things of old. It's just all he can really talk about, because when he says anything else, when he's not just yelling and screaming, his crowd is bored. They are so out of it. Just listen to the silence as Donald Trump tries and fails to talk about the economy right here.
Right after the election, could you imagine you run in the election, you lose, and then they announce that they just screwed you for 1 million jobs in order to look better? And this is what we're dealing with in our country. This is what we're dealing with. 818,000 plus 112. Nearly 250,000 people dropped out of the labor force this month. How about that? That's like a depression.
You can just hear the dead silence and the kind of bored faces of those around Donald Trump as he's trying to talk about the economy, trying to hit against Kamala Harris's economic agenda and the success of the Biden-Harris administration, which has been tremendous, and also cleaned up the failure of Donald Trump's administration. Again, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But when it got weird, not just annoying and out of control from Donald Trump, but when it got weird is when he started talking about some young women in the crowd, and Fox had to cut him off. Let's take a look.
perhaps I don't understand what's happening, but I didn't see any males on that team, believe me. But the brave members of the swim team stood up to the transgender fanatics, something new in our country. And those strong, and I would say beautiful, but I'm not allowed to use that term anymore with women, because if you say beautiful, it means the end of your career in politics. You're not allowed to say a woman's beautiful, so I will not tell you how beautiful they are, but they are beautiful. But those strong, beautiful, intelligent women, they won. They won. And today we're joined by 7 of the great members, really championship, incredible swimmers of the Roanoke College women's swim team that have gotten a little publicity. They've gotten more publicity than I have. What the hell's going on here? Including team captain Lily Mullins, a real champion. Come on up. Come on up, ladies. Lily, everybody.
A little bit earlier, we took about 10 minutes from the Harris and Walz campaign appearances. We've given you about 10 minutes of the Trump campaign appearance there in Virginia, trying to keep things even.
Now, I don't know if Fox decided to cut it there because Donald Trump kept calling college-age women beautiful, or because they just didn't want to see those individuals, the swimmers, speak. I don't know. It could have been both things, but it was certainly the first one that they did not want to hear Donald Trump make any more strange comments, which, of course, he is always going to do. And those weird comments that he continues to make about women were called out by Tim Walz in this clip right here.
And by doing this now, we have 20 states, including Arizona, that have Trump abortion bans in place. And now this week, he tells us he's going to put RFK Jr. in charge of women's health. Yeah, but he even made it a little clearer for you. Donald himself said, don't worry, he'll be your protector. Can't even open the door of a garbage truck, and let alone so. Well, look, he followed up in the last day or so and said he's going to do that whether women like it or not. So some of this stuff might be comedy fodder if this guy would go back to just being a buffoon on TV, but he's not. He's asking to be president of the United States again. And so because of that, now what we're seeing, what he means is women are turned away from emergency rooms and miscarriaging in parking lots, whether they like it or not. Survivors of rape and incest are being forced to carry those pregnancies to term, whether they like it or not. Fertility clinics have turned couples away at the door, whether they like it or not. And for so many of you out here, and for the women here certainly, it's personal. On the fertility side, Gwen and I have talked about our struggle with this. We struggled for years with infertility. Because we had insurance and fertility treatments, we had our beautiful family. I will be damned if anyone will take that from anybody in this country.
I am so glad that not only Donald Trump's attacks on women's reproductive freedom, but the way that he talks about them generally is such a focus, such an important part of the closing message for Kamala Harris, because it doesn't just demonstrate the attacks that have already happened under the first Trump administration and would be even more drastic and dangerous under a second, but it shows the way that Donald Trump views everyone else in America and how he thinks he can control them, how he thinks he can be in charge of everyone else's life, how he wants to be a dictator on day one, and how he is increasingly unhinged in that desire. And speaking of that cognitive decline from Donald Trump, Tim Walz was calling it out right here as well.
And then this dude is nearly 80 years old. He tells us he's a genius, a stable genius, and he apparently went to the Wharton School. In those 80 years, you'd think he'd have learned what a damn tariff is and who pays for it. We pay for it. His tariff plan, his national sales tax plan, will add 20% to the cost of most things you buy, adding up to $4,000 to families across this country. That's his plan.
Donald Trump is increasingly unhinged, increasingly unstable, and we know him to be in cognitive decline. It's clear to anyone who watches him speak or listens to anything that he says for even a second. And not only that, he's getting pretty bad at his makeup. The physical decline of Donald Trump is awful as well. Tim Miller yesterday referred to Donald Trump as an Oompa Loompa garbage man sex doll. I think that's a pretty apt description. And of course, we don't want to have to see that Donald Trump. We don't ever see any version of Donald Trump again. And that's exactly what Tim Walz said right here.
There are so many reasons here, but we've got a chance to turn the page on Donald Trump. So many reasons. And to vote for Kamala Harris, so many reasons to vote against this guy. But I'll tell you, this one may be petty, but we've earned it living with this guy for 9 years. How great's it going to be just not to see him on TV anymore? And not only that, we get to see a new generation of leadership with Kamala Harris.
I love this case that Tim Walz is making. Maybe it's not the most important issue to most voters, but I feel like it resonates with all of us. Aren't we just tired of hearing this guy and seeing him and him being a part of our lives in any way, shape, and form? Don't we want to move on from that? Don't we want to not have to deal with Donald Trump? Don't we want to turn that page? Well, Kamala Harris certainly does. She was saying so right here.
And we have an opportunity in this election to turn the page on a decade of Donald Trump trying to keep us divided and afraid of each other. We're done with that. We're done. We're exhausted with it. We're done. And we know who he is. We know who he is. He tells us every day. But Charlotte, that's not who we are. That's not who we are. And we know it is time for a new generation of leadership in America. And I am ready to offer that leadership as the next president of the United States of America.
A new generation of leaders, a new way forward. That is what Kamala Harris is all about. That is what this campaign is about. And that's what we can make happen. We just got to go out and vote. So let's do it. Let's talk about it. Let's continue to fight. It's what we're going to be doing on this channel every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.